their message is peace and coming together in the country. What's your message?
You don't believe that for 1 minute, do you?
That their message is?
Yeah.
That's what they said to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe them. Of course
Any
I believe them
protests
when they say
over
that.
the deaths of these cops today in Baton Rouge?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Any riots or protests over the police officers in Dallas, Texas?
What are you asking?
It's a pretty simple question.
I asked you if what's your message to the people. Their message is one of peace. What is your message?
My message has been clear from day one 2 years ago. This anti-cop sentiment from this hateful ideology called Black Lives Matter has fueled this rage against the American police officer. I predicted this 2 years ago. So what I want to know,
sure? Okay, Sheriff.
do I want to
With
know?
all due respect, do you know that this was because of that? Do we
Yes,
know
I
that
do.
As a law enforcement officer?
I've been watching this for 2 years. I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
There was a black officer who was killed today. But
Was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down here. So I understand, and listen,
I'm looking at 3 dead cops this week,
Sheriff,
and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
Just please, if you'll just please, we can keep it civil. So, because the message to people at home, I'm sure you want, is one of civility.
I wish, Don, I wish you had that message of civility
to have a conversation
toward this
with you.
hateful ideology, these purveyors of
You don't
hate.
know what my message is.
That's
what I
what
want
they
to say
do.
to you is,
these
if you'll
people
let me
preach
are you going to let me get a
vile
word in?
and virtue
We'll be right
in the
back.
name
We're
of
going to go to break,
hate.
and we'll be right back.
I mean, if this interview doesn't show why Don Lemon shouldn't have a job, I don't know what does, but thank God he's out of a job. You see his interview there with Sheriff David Clark, who's actually talking about crime statistics. And instead of Don Lemon asking a follow-up question or trying to dig in to the data or statistics, he just says, that's a different conversation. No, that's the conversation that matters. But as we see on places like CNN, they don't report on crime unless it fits their very specific narrative. They're just crossing their fingers and hoping that every single crime committed is a white man against a person of color or someone in the trans community, because then it fits their narrative that white supremacy is the biggest threat to our democracy. So they can just keep spinning and spinning these MAGA white men, more basket of deplorables types. But as we all know, that isn't the truth. But people like Don Lemon on CNN don't care about the truth. And I'm surprised they even had David Clark on, because he's a tough sheriff who's seen a lot. But no, Don Lemon doesn't want to ask him what happens in difficult communities. How are you fighting crime? He just wants to get him to try to admit that white men are the source of all evil. And when you can't spin that narrative and can't get him to do it, you just shut down the conversation. So glad Don Lemon is unemployed.